Ryan Young, KAATARO Jiu-Jitsu. All right, so we're gonna add to this series on how to make yourself better. You know, one thing that everybody would ask, or maybe you don't ask, I asked myself, how did Grandmaster Hickson get better when nobody was better than him? Especially when he moved to the US. There's that video that's been floating around for years at the Gracie Academy where you see Hickson and you see his hair is all long and wet and all that, and he's all sweating because he trained with the entire room, right? There was about 30 guys in that room plus, and he trained with everybody, just destroyed everybody. And then the video concludes with him catching Master Dave Kama twice. Once with a slick back take to a rear naked, and once with a slick triangle setup. You know, people would ask, how does Hickson get better? Nobody would believe that Hickson would get better because he was away from Brazil. He wasn't training with the top guys anymore. So Brazilians would come up all the time because after they compete, they do well, they win the gold medal. They want to go up against the real champ, the champ who vacated and who never lost anyone. And they come up and they still destroy him, right? So the thought process is this: did Hickson beat me because he was just that much better than me? And although I did get better, I caught up. I mean, I started to make some ground on him, but I'm still not to the point where I can beat him, right? So when I go to try to challenge him, he's still better than me? Or is it that I was never better than him and he continues to get better and he continues to improve at a rate at least as fast as I'm improving, or even faster? Right? What this comes down to is your mind. And you have to have a mindset that you're the worst person in the room. Number one, you need to be okay with it. And number two, if you're not the worst person in the room, you need to make yourself the worst person in the room. And this is really easy to do. Now, if you're the worst person in the room, fine, that's easy to do. A lot of people will say, I need to go and train at a place where they have really good guys, right? So, you know, one person might go, well, you know, they have 10 world champion black belts at this school, so I need to go train there because the school that I'm at now has a black belt but is not a world champion, and the way I get better is to be in a room full of people that are better than me. To an extent, that's true, and we've talked about this many times in other videos, but the reason why I say it's only true to an extent is because if you're in that room with all those top guys, but they're all just training for their own training and they're not helping you, right? If you lose and you lose and you lose, you go down the line, you get squashed by 10 different guys, and none of them help you. None of them say, look, here's what you're doing wrong, you need to do this instead. Or here's what I did to beat you because you forgot to do this, right? If they're helping you, then that's good, right? But there's also a problem with that too, in that you have 10 different guys, let's say they armbar you 10 different ways, and they each have a different opinion on why you failed at defending the armbar. Then that's gonna screw you up, right? But that's a different thing altogether. So what I'm saying is this: let's say you're not the worst guy in the room. Let's say you're the best guy in the room. Let's say you're Hickson Gracie. Let's say you're Dave Kama when Dave was running Hickson's Laguna Niguel campus, right? Nobody was better than Dave, right? So, but in a particular class, Dave is the best one. And this happened with me as well when I first opened our Texas campus when I moved here. I didn't have anybody better than me to train with, you know, on a daily basis. You know, sure, I could have gone around and visited other schools, but that's not really my style. And, you know, I'm more trying to spend my time with my students rather than other people. But you have to be comfortable being the worst person in class. So if I'm in a class full of white belts, I'm gonna try to make myself the worst person in the class. Worst as in my technique, not the worst person, I don't wanna be a bad person, but worst technical jiu-jitsu. So what I'll do is I'll give them everything, right? I'll let somebody mount me and I'll just leave my hands out. And I'll let them start reaching my collar and start setting the choke in. You know, I'll let them put one hand in, I'll let them put a second hand in, I'll let them start to connect on me. And, you know, then after all that head start, I try to get out. You know, we call it handicapping ourselves, but really what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give everybody such an amount of a head start on me that I become the worst person in the room, right? And you know, the best person in the room will be able to take all this stuff from me. Will be able to mount me, will be able to hold it, will be able to set the first hand in, set the second hand in, connect to me and start, you know, that's somebody who's much better than me. But if you're not better than me, you're not gonna get that far. So I need to let that person get to that point and let them start executing their technique, right? So that's how I got better in a room full of white belts, right? When I left California in summer of 2013, And 6 months later, I went back to California to visit, and I was training. And one thing Master Dave kind of pointed out, while I was training with people, he's saying, whoa, just out of, because he first saw me get on the mat with people, and I'm training people who would give me a good run before I left. I'd still beat them, but people who would give me a good run and I'd have a harder time controlling, all of a sudden I'm just playing with. And he goes, whoa, Ryan, you got better. How'd that happen? He goes, who are you training with? And I said, white belts, right? But what happened was I did what Dave always taught me to do and what Hickson teaches to do. And it's to let people climb all over you. Let people have stuff and give people the advantage on you. Make yourself the worst person in the room. That's hard to do because it's a mentality. We're doing this to make ourselves better, but to make ourselves better, we have to make ourselves worse, right? Sometimes it doesn't make any sense, but really that's what it is. Because you have to, if you're good at something, you cannot get better by simply trying to climb higher and higher above everybody else here. You put yourself down here below them so that they're climbing on you. They're messing with you, but you're not this level. You're up here. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to bump up despite the fact that you're giving them everything. But guess what? When you bump up, they bump up. When you bump up, they bump up. That's you putting yourself at that handicap. So in this way, it's actually better, in my opinion, it's better and it's easier for someone to get better having a room full of people who, on an absolute basis, are not as good as you. If on an absolute basis, you're better than all of them, you need to knock yourself levels down to make it so everybody's better than you, and you have to be comfortable with it, right? And that's one of the reasons why Dave has never really been big on having a lot of people from neighboring academies come into our school, right? If they're looking for a change, yes, come on in. But if you just want to come and cross-train, nah. And here's the reason. Because let's say I'm in one of those modes where I'm or Dave is, or Jack is, or any of our black belts are putting themselves in a position to where they're being inferior to one of their students. And let's say it's a blue belt, and this blue belt just keeps getting mounted. He's trying hard, but I'm only defending to a certain extent so that he can get on. I'm trying to put myself one level below him to let him get everything on me. And then this blue belt goes and mounts me, sets his hand in. I'm doing a half-ass escape, and he sets his other hand in, and I'm still doing a half-ass escape, and then he sets it in. And that's when I go to escape. And being that it's already deep, he's got a good choke, and he's connected. As soon as I set the defense in, my defense, as soon as I start to defend, I let him get too far, and he taps me. Well, somebody who's from another school who doesn't belong in our academy, who doesn't know how we do things, might look at it as, man, that Ryan, he got tapped by one of his blue belts like multiple times. The guy just kept getting mount and choke on him. And somebody who's a white belt doesn't know the difference. They don't know what I'm doing. The blue belt who I'm teaching knows, but it's not anything we're gonna say, okay, I'm gonna give you this and this and this and this, and then you try and go. I mean, it's already understood because we've trained with each other so much. But somebody coming from outside may see that and go, wow, this Ryan is a piece of crap. I mean, he's getting run over by blue belts the entire class, without knowing what we're doing. But that's just me making myself, and I teach this to all our instructors as well. Let your students have stuff on you because it will make them better and it'll also make you better. So be comfortable. Be comfortable being that guy who's not the best in the room, right? It's easy to rationalize it when you truly are not the best in the room. But when you are the best in the room, or when you're not the worst in the room, you're just maybe somewhere in the middle, and having people that are lower level than you catch you, it's kind of an uncomfortable thing. You don't like people seeing you get tapped, right? People go, whoa, and I even know it on my end in the school because, sometimes maybe I have a couple of guys who are similar levels, maybe same belt, and they're training, and they see me watching them. Maybe in their mind they're thinking, man, I want to make sure that I do really well because I don't want Ryan to think that I cannot beat this guy. And as a result, they go really hard. I don't know. I'm not in their heads, so I really don't know. But I know that when I was at that level, I would think that. Especially I would think of it when guys were lower belt level than me and I'm training and my professor's watching. I don't want to come across as slipping. For the betterment of your jiu-jitsu, just make yourself out to be the worst in the room And if you're not the worst, be comfortable with it because you can only go up, right? On the other hand, if you're at the very top, without getting yourself down to a lower level, you can only go down. It's much easier to start low and work up than it is to start high and fall down, right? Because you've spent all that time and energy building up that you think to yourself that I don't want to fall down. And it especially happens when people, with the whole belt controversy too. People talk about, hey Ryan, you putting a white bar on people's belt that they earned, it's bullshit. And you shouldn't do it because he earned it. Well, he earned it in, and the thing, I always give them benefit of doubt. I always say, go ahead and train for a little bit and let's see it. Or it could be, so you're gonna have this white bar on your belt for a little while and let me just kind of watch you and I'll just kind of watch and see what you know. And if you know everything you need to know, I'll switch your belt right back out. But if you don't, then keep this belt on while you learn what I need you to learn, right? It's not a big deal. I don't think it is. But these people who come in and are uncomfortable with it, right? They're thinking, I spent 6 years earning this belt and you're not gonna take it away from me. I'm not taking it away from you, right? I'm just saying that we do things differently. But if you're not comfortable with it, then, that's what I tell people. If you're not comfortable with it, then you're gonna have to go and find a school where you will be comfortable. But see, the thing is, they're also not comfortable being that bottom guy in the room as well, right? Because it's a mature mindset, I say. It's not to say that you're immature, but in a way, in Jiu-Jitsu, you're immature if you cannot think like that. I hope this kind of helps, but I want to make you better. And by thinking this way, I guarantee you will become better. And if your professor doesn't tell you to do it, then do it on your own. You don't need anyone to tell you it, except me. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys. Take care, happy training. Bye-bye now.